Thinking of playing Iron Cross, man-to-man combat on the Eastern Front, 1941-42. The Russian Rifle Regiment, December 42 version, had a considerable advantage in firepower over its German counterpart. It had 25% more men, 36% more infantry, 58% more machine guns, and was only deficient in the number of artillery pieces. But this was exactly where the Germans' advantage lay. The Russian Rifle Division had only 18% of its firepower in the division's artillery, while the German Infantry Division had 55% of its firepower in its artillery. Therefore, if a comparison of regiment to regiment is made, the Russians come out ahead. Okay, so in an effort to figure out whether this whole design hangs together, whether it's... The big question, and I have this question for this design more than others, is while there are a bunch of great little ideas in here, is it actually not really, practically speaking, playable? So let's see. So to take a look first, before getting to anything like a scenario, I thought I would start with some basic matchups. So what we have here is I drew a German rifleman, actually an unusual German rifleman because his performance rating is a below average 6, and I drew a random Soviet rifleman here, and he is actually a Superman for the Soviet countermix. It looks like his performance rating is a 9. So the first scenario, I looked at the first scenario, and in the first scenario that I hope to get to in not too long, the Russian side goes first, so I'm going to have the Russian move here first. I'm going to act like, even though this is a matchup 1-to-1, I'm going to assume that the battle has not started, and so we don't need to do performance checks for movement. We'll start doing those after the first combat roll. So we have our Soviet rifleman here. The rifleman is on a road. Facing for infantrymen doesn't matter. I'm just doing it just facing in whatever particular way makes sense. So I think I could start with the movement phase. Don't need to do a performance check, so I'm going to move the unit. Question is, what's his movement allowance? So use the table here, movement point allowance chart. This is infantry unit. The unit is in an up state, not pinned or suppressed. This is the movement phase, so the soldier has 6 movement points to spend. Traveling down the road there. Here's the road. For infantry in up state, it's 1/2. 0 is the elevation. A means a bridge hex. Is a road hex that crosses a gully and is treated as a road hex. Okay, doesn't apply here. So it is 1/2. So we can move our first soldier here. 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 4. Okay, this is it looks like a 1 hex building. 1 hex building. Infantry in up state is 2, so that would be 6. Still, this building, I guess, would block line of sight between the two. I'm going to mark that unit as moved with my own move marker there. Okay. There was not an opportunity for opportunity fire. No mine attacks, no overruns, no assaults to announce. Then we go to reaction movement phase. All right, we should be able to jump right into it. So the reaction movement phase, the non-phasing player, German in this case, may attempt a limited movement with his units. Suppressed units may not move. Pinned unit movement is even more limited. So I think we're going to go back to our movement allowance chart. So we have infantry in up-down state. This is the reaction movement phase, and so this soldier has 3 3 movement points. So I think, so to go in order here, still don't need to do performance checks. Move units. I think the unit's going to move right in. So this, by the way, is a multi-hex building. By the way, I think there's some errata out there that, with respect to the map, I'm not paying any attention to that. So I'm going to call this a multi-hex building. I was about to say what's the difference, but I guess the number of AP combat dice is different. And the observation base. Okay, so 2 multi-hex building. Its level is 1, 2. So it's 2 to move in here. Now, at this point, opportunity fire. So the big question is, can the Soviet unit conduct opportunity fire? So under opportunity fire, we have a section which units may fire. We have during the movement phase, but this isn't during the movement phase. So we go down to the next case during the reaction movement phase. That's where we are. All phasing ATR, the anti-tank rifle, and ATG, anti-tank gun units, which are eligible to fire and have not moved in the preceding movement phase, may perform opportunity fire. And then we also have machine guns in spray or fire lane modes may opportunity fire in this phase. So it looks to me like just infantry cannot. So I don't think that in this case the phasing Soviet player can conduct opportunity fire. The German is not going to move farther. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Mine attacks, overruns, announce assaults. So then we go to defensive fire phase. So, defensive fire phase. Non-phasing player may attempt to fire any of his normal status units. Units that performed reaction movement and or opportunity fire may not fire. So because this unit conducted reaction movement, it does not get to defensive fire. That would have to be another stationary unit, basically. So none of that. So moving fire phase. Okay, moving fire phase, the phasing player. So we're back to considering the Soviets now. So the phasing player may attempt to fire any of his normal status units. Units that have already fired in this player turn may not fire in this phase. Infantry and AFV units which have moved may fire, but with a penalty. So there we go. Crude weapon units that have moved may not fire. This is a rifle, it's not a crude weapon. It did move, so it will fire with a penalty. So I would not expect this to be a very high probability attack, but let's do it anyways. So again, this is the moving fire phase. So announce attacks. Soviet riflemen against the German riflemen in the house, in the building there. The end of the building. Determine line of sight. I'm going to assume that there's no issue there, but attempt observation. We will do that. So attempt observation. I just noticed this is interesting. I'm attempting observation before PCs to fire. Oh, well, I guess if you don't observe that. No, because you can still fire unobserved, which is great, by the way. One of the many little things I like to see. But okay, so basically the procedure. Observation procedure. We'll go right down the numbers for each observation attempt. So this is one attempt from 1 hex to 1 hex. Roll 2 dice. 6. Add the results together. This number is compared to the observation base number for the terrain in the target hex. Remember, this is a multi-hex building. Multi-hex building. Come over here to the observation base column, and it is a 5. So right away we need some modifiers to get this attempt success, to get a successful attempt here. So if it's equal to or less than the base number, all the enemy units in the hex are considered observed. The observation dice roll result can be modified up or down. Modifiers favoring the target. All right, we have a range thing, but this is This doesn't apply here. They're so close. Improved positions don't apply here. Tree symbols, armored fighting vehicles and wrecks don't apply. Marsh hexes don't apply here. Target is non-AFV unit. Yes, this is a non-AFV unit in downstate. No, it's in an upstate. Doesn't apply. And if the observing unit moved within the last 3 phases, it obviously just moved. It's still marked. So that's +2. So that is not good. So right there, we already have I'll do a little +2 there. So original die roll of 6. And we're already to +2 for having moved. But then we have modifiers favoring the observer. So if the target hex was successfully observed on a previous player turn, doesn't apply. If the target hex is 2 or more levels lower, doesn't apply. If any unit in the target hex moved within up, they move 2. So actually, that's -2. So actually, the +2 is negated. Negated. If there's an AFV in the target hex, no. If the observer is a commander, no, it's just a rifleman. If the target hex has 4 or more men, nope, there's just 1 here. So there's a density modifier. If any non-machine gun unit in the target hex used AP fire, no, it doesn't apply. If any light machine gun or ATR unit in the target hex fired, no. Medium machine gun or mortar unit, no. Fired, no. ATG, AFE machine gun using intensive fire, all these things make perfect sense. Doesn't, but they don't apply. Wow, actually it was fairly close. Optional penalty. I kind of like this optional penalty, but I'm not sure I actually understand it yet, so I'll hold off on that optional penalty. But if I figure it out and like it, I might add that optional penalty. But anyways, I think they just barely missed it. So because it's a multi-hex building, basically that's what it comes down to. Observation is not successful. So I'll tell you what would happen. They can still fire. It's unobserved. They're okay. What does it actually say? It says if firing AP firepower into an unobserved hex, the firepower total is halved. I'm not going to do this combat. I think that it would be vanishingly small possibility of any meaningful result. Maybe I should walk through it, but I'm not going to.